Coming up on episode 71 of In the Front Row, we sit down with four-time Olympic medalist Kerri Walsh Jennings, a superstar on the beach volleyball circuit. She won 3 gold medals along with Misty May-Treanor and shares her story with us. Growing up in California, playing both basketball and volleyball, indoor volleyball, moving to the beaches where she became a superstar on the Olympic stage. It's an honest, it's an open conversation with our guest in episode 71, Kerri Walsh Jennings. It starts right now.
It's time to take your seat in the front row with Mike Vaccaro. Here's your host, Mike Vaccaro.
I appreciate you joining us and just sharing your story with us, which is very amazing, obviously. And we love to get to the root of our guests and kind of what made you who you are. And for you, born in Santa Clara, but you grew up in San Jose, and it was an active family, I guess, that you grew up around. So how much were sports part of your life growing up?
Oh, I mean, it was my life. My life literally was family and sports. I was born in San Jose, and then we moved over to Scotts Valley, which is near Santa Cruz, Redwood Mountains. Like, we had acreage and we had no neighbors. I had no friends. I had my family. My brother and I are the oldest of all the cousins. My mother is one of 8 children. They all have had a lot of kids. My father's one of 4. So I have a ton of cousins is my point. And my parents are athletes and their siblings are athletes. And so it felt like every day, but every day there was an element of sports. Every weekend there was an element of sports and family. And it was just my favorite thing in the world.
And I heard that you were shy growing up. Did sports help you with that?
Oh man, I was painfully shy. My mom says I didn't until I was 3. My brother and I are 11 months apart, and he just kind of did all the talking for me, so I think we were a good fit. My brother is just my favorite human. And so, sport, I played all the sports growing up, and even after I found volleyball, I kept playing basketball and baseball, as long as I could. But volleyball, when I started playing volleyball, something shifted in me, and it's just, I found my voice. I found my comfort zone. And it just, every single part of it, like, awakened something in me, and I'm just, getting ready to retire, and it's going to be so sad to say goodbye to the vehicle that's helped me become me. I'm going to have to find another vehicle to keep learning about myself and being challenged, because volleyball has been it, for over 30 years. And so absolutely, volleyball helped not only give me a voice, but it helped me to realize who I was as a person, certainly who I was as an athlete, as a competitor, but more deeper than that, it helped me realize who I want to be as a human and all of the things, good, bad, ugly, inside of me that, sports brings out.
Being on the West Coast, did that help that it was volleyball? Maybe if you're somewhere else, maybe basketball takes over for you?
Sure. Well, I just think love is love, and I played basketball, baseball and basketball were my first loves. Like, I wanted to be the first girl in the NBA. I wanted to be the first major league pitcher. My dad played semi-pro baseball and basketball. And that was my life growing up, and then introduced volleyball and it shifted a bit, but those were the 3 trifecta. But, obviously West Coast is big in volleyball. Certainly when I was growing up, it was where you kind of had to be to be great in volleyball, but now it's everywhere, which is incredible. But I didn't love basketball. I played it in high school only because it made me better at volleyball, and so it's just interesting, the things we do. But so no, I don't think had I lived, well, maybe, I'm an athlete. I would be competing regardless of where I lived, but I think volleyball would have found me, or I would have found volleyball.
Well, volleyball, you're pretty darn good. You're number 1 recruit coming out of high school, the Gatorade High School Player of the Year, decided to go to Stanford. So take us through that. What was that recruitment process like that got you to Stanford?
Well, I grew up, after we left Scotts Valley, we moved to Saratoga, which is in the South Bay, in the Bay Area, and which is like 25 minutes from Stanford. And so I grew up going to Stanford games. I was a ball girl at the Stanford volleyball games. My brother did camps there. My mom went to Santa Clara. So I'm just very familiar with the area. And it was just kind of put in my head very early on, Kerri, if you want to be the best, you should go to the best school. And the best school is Stanford. And if you want to go to Stanford, you got to be a great athlete. You have to be a great student, and you have to be a good human. so get on it. It's in your hands. And so I really, going through the recruiting process, it was always so fun to get letters and get interest from people and places that you respected and admired. But there was no one else but Stanford that I wanted to go to, And so I was just like holding my breath, hoping that I got in with my grades because I wasn't a great student. Not that I was a bad student, but I wasn't, on paper, Stanford caliber. And so thank goodness my volleyball skills, kind of made them more open-minded because I didn't want to go anywhere else. I had calls with UOP and with UCLA. And I loved those calls and I respected those coaches so much, but I would have been sad had I had not been able to go to Stanford. At the time, Dawn Shaw and Denise Corlett were the coaches, and they're two of my favorite humans forever. And we were the right fit. And Stanford was the right fit for me, not only in volleyball. We went to 3 Final Fours, 3 championships, won twice. So it was a great fit volleyball wise. And I learned and grew so much being around excellence. But as a human on that campus, I felt really safe and I felt comfortable being challenged because it's intimidating, like when you're 18 and you don't fancy yourself an academic and you're surrounded by geniuses, like they really wanted me to succeed and they gave me everything I needed to do to succeed. And I'm grateful for that because I don't know if a lot of other places would have done that.
Yeah, as you said, 2 national championships, 3 Final Fours. You were a 4-time first-team All-American, just a second person to do that as well. I mean, we're going to talk about your gold medals, but that's pretty nice accomplishments to have as well on the college level.
It was so fun. I don't even know what to say about that other than that I had great coaches and I had great teammates and I was on great teams, and I think the best teammates, the best coaches obviously bring out the best in you. And I felt very safe at Stanford. I felt encouraged to just keep challenging myself, keep sharpening my edges. And the fact that they were going to be behind me as long as I busted my butt, I couldn't fail in their eyes. And so they gave me a lot of leadership capabilities. When I was a younger girl, freshman, sophomore, my upperclassmen were incredible. They were amazing leaders. They were amazing humans. They were very mature. And someone who's really Pollyanna and as naive as I am, I really appreciated learning from good humans who really took their leadership sincerely and very seriously. Because as I grew up, junior, senior year, that was my job then. And I've just taken all those lessons, from being underclassmen at Stanford, learning from the best, Lisa Sharpley, Kristen Focal, Dawn Shaw, Denise Corlett, all the way through my college career and on into the Olympics.
And you're speaking of the Olympics, your first experience was indoor, right? In 2000. Yeah. What was that like at that time? And then making that transition to the beach from the indoor?
It was like indoor is my life. I loved it. So I still love it, but I loved it so much. And so my first Olympics, it was just dream come true. I started playing the game when I was 10 years old. My first Olympics, I had just turned 22. I had my birthday in Sydney at the 2000 Olympics, just turned 22. And it was wonderful. It gave me a taste of representing our country and kind of going through all the pomp and pageantry of being an Olympian, which, man, it's just the most inspiring, empowering thing. And so even though we finished 4th, I was very proud of our team. And I had some things that happened at the Olympics that kind of broke my heart and made me kind of be like, maybe I need to look at something different. Indoor volleyball served me so well, but I'm sick of being one of the pack. Like I would like to kind of be a little more autonomous in my life. I don't really want to go play professionally in Europe because my family means so much to me. And that's 9 months out of my life a year, And so I didn't know what I wanted to do after the games, but I was open, very nervous, very scared. And then it just so happened at the 2000 games, my parents sat with Misty May's parents. And Misty May was my idol growing up indoor. She left the indoor national team to pursue beach prior to the 2000 games. She made the games with Holly McPeak, finished 5th. And our parents talked at the Olympics. They said, we should get the girls together, see how they do. And so it was a very casual conversation. And then I went to the Olympics and then I went back to school in 2001, right after the new year. And so as I finished at Stanford, I would travel down every single week to go and train with Misty. And that little conversation in Sydney between our parents, was a start of everything. And then the very first day I got in the sand with her, that changed my entire life because there was some magic there. I actually ended up playing against my future husband, and it was just, when things align and you're just like, what is happening? Your whole life is different in a matter of an instant. That's kind of what happened to me in my transition to beach volleyball.
So your parents are responsible for pairing you two together. That's incredible.
Right? Our parents are smart. Misty's parents, her mom's up in heaven. She passed away our second year together. Butch May, and her name is Barbara, and she's incredible. But Butch was our first coach. And, he's just father, daughter are very similar. They're exceptional humans. They love the game. They're so smart. They're just Jedis. And then my parents, unconditional love. And they're always thinking about me, and they know I'm a little shy. And so, they opened some doors, and it was my job to go through because they couldn't do for me, but I was so grateful they did.
What was the transition going from indoor to beach? Again, kind of doing it the first time like that. What were some of the biggest adjustments you had?
It was very, very humbling. I think I cried most every day for a year probably, and that's not even being dramatic. Just because I felt like I was pretty good indoor, and then I felt like just such a rookie and such a greenhorn on the beach. And the pressure of playing with Misty, who is one of the best ever, and even though she was so young, she was one of the best at the time already. And so I just felt like every time we lost, it was my fault, which it was. But it's a process, and so I'm really hard on myself, which I think created urgency to become great. But I think I made the process a little harder on my ego and on my heart than it needed to be because I just took it so personally. The things that were really challenging were basically you're so exposed, you're so vulnerable because you can't hide. There's no subs, it's just you and your partner. And if you're having a bad game, they're going to pick on you, And so that just really requires you to be mature and to get over things very fast and to process errors and mistakes and the learning curve as quickly as you can. And that was challenging, but the most rewarding thing for life, And then basically the hardest thing with the craft was just the little nuance changes. The wind affected every touch in the ball, and the sand, whether it was shallow or whether it was deep, it changes the rhythm and, the speed of the game. And so really you don't know those things until you have time in the saddle and a lot of reps. And so, I'm still playing and still like, why can't I have perfect timing? But it just comes with the game. And that's why the game's so special, because there are so many variables that are just out of your control that you just have to be in the moment and just, let it rip.
So take us into 2004 in Athens. I mean, going through that transition, again, you didn't have a great experience, as you said, indoor in 2000. What was your mindset? What were your expectations going into 2004?
Oh man, we were so happy and so excited. So we were winning, on the lead up to Athens. We were the best team in the world for sure, but still really young and inexperienced largely on the world stage, and the best team in the world outside of us at the time. There was a Brazilian team, Adriana and Sheldon, who were Olympians and just wonderful humans who we fought in so many finals. And then another American team, Holly McPeak and Elaine Youngs, who they were probably our gnarliest competitors, just because anyone else you're playing within your own country, like there's just more pride and more stress. And oh my gosh, it's just a fully loaded plate. And we actually had to play them in the semis to get to the gold medal match. That was after we won that, I'm like, we got this. Not that I took it for granted, but that was the most emotionally charged, stressful match of my career to that date. And we handled it really well, and so my experience in Athens was very, very special. Casey was there, who we were dating for a couple of years at the time. My parents were there, my siblings. And we won. And it was in Athens, the home of the Olympics, so Misty and I, we really did feel like kids in a candy shop. We were very loose. We are very focused. And Misty, a couple months prior to the game, she tore her ab muscle pretty significantly. And so I was actually competing with somebody else, and that was stressful. Only, not if I were to sit and be by myself, I'd be like, Misty has this, she's a champion. She's going to take care of it. But then you get people on the outside, like, what if she's not ready? And, how can you trust that? And, and I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Like, and so I was playing with another partner. I'm like, do I need to get a plan B? I don't believe in plan Bs, and so all of that just was stress and noise that I didn't need. And ultimately Misty is such a champion, and she came back stronger than ever. So outside of that one variable, it was very fun, very exciting. And we kind of came in, on clouds and left on, bubbles of champagne, and had so much fun.
Take us to the moment you're on the podium, you see the flag raised and you hear the national anthem. What is that moment like for those of us that don't have that opportunity?
It's just one of those moments where you're just like, what is happening? And your eyes are watering for so much love and appreciation and gratitude. It's overwhelming. There's not words that you can say. Like, it's just something you have to experience it. Think of the most meaningful moment of your life. And, that's one of them, and how you just want to put your hand on your heart and how you want to give thanks to God and thanks to all your people. And it's just a very, very special moment because it's a culmination of a journey, and the journey themselves is the most important part. And so when you live the journey very well and you learn and grow and become, deeper with your partner and deeper with yourself and, your whole crew, and then you finish on top, that's the cherry on top. It's not everything. On the back of the Athens medal in ancient Greek, it says it's about the journey, not the destination. And literally for years after that, I'm like, that's for like second place people to think that way. I mean, what an idiot, I was so like, that was such an obnoxious thought. I just literally didn't get it, because I just only focused on winning and I wouldn't even allow myself to think about losing. And then you live a little life, you get a little perspective and you're like, that's exactly right. I was an idiot. And I'm grateful for that perspective shift, because if you do not live the journey well, not only is your life kind of miserable in those moments, or you kind of miss out on life because you're only focused on the pursuit. But the destination isn't as meaningful because you didn't really take advantage of the whole reason for doing it.
So you won that first time. You won 2 more years after that, in 2008 in Beijing, London in 2012. Did it get harder, maybe physically and mentally as well? What were the challenges when you win it one time to try to continue to do that and keep up that pace?
It was so fun. With Misty and I, we always wanted the biggest target on our back because that means we were the front runners and the standard bearers. And so we really didn't mind the pressure from the outside world and from the competition. It got harder because the teams got better, and the field got deeper. So that obviously presents more challenges, but that's why we're competing, because we want to play against the best and beat everyone to become the best. And then psychologically, emotionally, and mentally, it's like after you do it the first time, and then the drive and the obsession to do it again and to do it better, that becomes real, and that's something that if you don't stay on top of, it certainly can throw a wrench in plans. For me, after Athens, I got married to my husband in 2005, and then I had a miscarriage in 2006. And I was so ready to start a family and take a break from the game. And the fact that I had a miscarriage and the timing of it, we were forced to make a decision. Okay, either we wait a year and get pregnant, because I had to take a year off. They said, for my miscarriage, just certain variables within it. Otherwise, it could turn into cancer or something weird. Or you just wait till after the next Olympics to get pregnant, right? And so for me, as someone who I was just so ready to be a mom, I was like, well, I want to win the Olympics. I'm willing to put off having a baby, right? But it's so weird what happened inside my brain and my heart. It's just like, if I'm not going to start a family with the man I love most, I'm going to win everything. And I'm just going to focus on August 8th, 2008, I'm winning, and I'm winning every single day along there. And it was beautiful in the simplicity and I was just going to kick ass, but that's when you talk about the journey. I totally missed out on my life. And I took for granted that my husband, that we were connected and our love was enough. And I took for granted just these things that you can't take for granted. You got to nurture your relationships and water, where you're at. And I didn't do that. And so that was the hard lesson I learned that really helped me understand what was on the back of my Athens medal. The journey is most important. It's not the final destination. If you're only focused on end result, you're going to miss out on a lot of the joy and the goodness of life. And so even though it was a very meaningful time between 2006 and 2008, professionally, personally, it turned into a nightmare, and it was very, very hard. And I left Beijing with a gold medal, but a fracture in my family with my husband, and really having to fight for my personal life after that.
Yeah, it kind of took all your focus, right? I mean, it just,
Yeah.
that's got to be hard. It's a hard situation, obviously, as an athlete that you are, trying to prepare for something and deal with something that's totally opposite of all that.
Yeah. My husband's an athlete and one of the best in the world. And, we were both chasing dreams, and, it's just, a bit being naive, a bit being lazy, it's just a bit just being obsessed, all these things, there was nothing evil about it. It's just, I took my eye off the ball that was most important, and it's challenging in itself to go and pursue excellence. Why I continue to go on to London and even to try to go to Tokyo is that I learned that hard lesson in Beijing, and I just wanted to keep getting better at it. So London was my favorite Olympic Games because we had our 2 boys. My husband and I were deeply connected, and I felt like I did it right. And Misty and I were deeply connected, and the journey was just the priority, and we won. So I'm like, okay, it's possible to do both. It's possible to do the journey, the family, and the excellence. And so I've just wanted to taste that again ever since, in Tokyo, long story there, beautiful journey, and I just took Paris off the table, which is another story, but it's all interesting, and life is above all the most important. Relationships are the most important. And so I just want to make sure I'm doing my end,
So Paris 2024 will not involve Kerri Walsh Jennings on the sand courts?
No, it's not. I was hoping, I had ankle surgery about 3.5 months ago, and it was very extensive. And I've had so many surgeries in my career, and I've always come back really fast, expedited fashion with my strength coaches and my trainers and my physios. And this one I just thought would be the same. But they did a lot, and it's like having a whole new leg. And so things are going a little bit slow. So yeah, so I just kind of came to the realization last week, which it's like, my heart's like, what? Are you sure? Are you ready? You can do this? But, considering the shortened timeline, everyone started qualifying in January, and I haven't even started that process. And so when you put together all the variables and the fact that I have been home for almost 2.5 years since COVID, like being a mom, being a wife, really enjoying that part, it's like, okay, I don't need to force anything anymore, even though, for the past 6 months, I was really trying to force it because it felt right, but it doesn't feel right anymore. So.
Yeah, you mentioned that R word, retirement, earlier here.
Mhm.
Did it take you a while to kind of say that out loud and realize that it's real?
Yeah, I had to practice it by myself a little bit. And I'm not saying I'm retired. I'm just Paris is off the table. I'm
Okay.
assuming I'm retired, but there's so many fun enterprises out there with beach volleyball, that are more exhibition like, but still very high level. And so I'm not going to say I'm retiring, but the fact that Paris is off the table, and my goal in coming back was just to play so fully expressed and so free with my body, mind, and spirit on the way to Paris, and then to finish on top in Paris. So I wasn't just playing to play.
Yeah.
I don't just want to play, domestic. I want to play against the best and beat the best. And the fact that I won't be ready, to do that, to take on that challenge, I think the writing's on the wall, but, I never want to say never. I think when Jordan said he retired, I'm going to botch what he said, but basically he's like, retirement doesn't mean I'm done forever. It means I'm going to go and do other things that fill me up, and that will always be there, so I kind of feel the same.
Yeah, and I know you're doing some of that stuff. We're going to get to that in a moment. I want to go back to London for a second because you mentioned, you were in a good space at that point. You're 5 months pregnant at that point, or 5 weeks, excuse me, 5 weeks
Yeah.
pregnant at that point. Did you know going in that you were pregnant?
My husband and I tried, so we were very aware that I could be pregnant. At some point I had a realization, and that's so early, like that's like you just missed your period and like you're very newly pregnant. So, I just want to say that because it's not a dramatic story. It's not what people think.
It sounds better than it is, right?
It does. Well, 5 months would be something to talk about.
Yes.
5 weeks is not so much, but it's so special, And for me, when I had the realization, I was in an ice bath in London, like kind of just like daydreaming, and we had just won, and it was like 1 a.m. My husband's in the other room getting room service with the boys, and I was just thinking, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm pregnant. I'm totally late. And I call it to my husband. I'm like, hey babe, I'm like, I think I'm pregnant. And he goes, that's how we do it. And then I just kind of carried on. And it was such a funny, special, like, yeah, that's how we do it type of moment. But for me, I'm pretty intense, and the closer I come to game time, I get kind of the a-hole in me comes out, And so for me personally, I was so grateful to have the fact that I had this other dream, literally, kind of manifesting inside of me to have our third baby, and so it really cut the tension of the Olympics as much as is possible. When I realized I was pregnant, which was so fun. Yeah. And so Scouty, won a gold medal in my belly, and it makes so much sense because she's as golden as can be. And my boys were there, they were 2 and 3 at the time. And again, my husband, none of this works without a partnership. My husband was and is so incredible with all this stuff that London was so special. And then to obviously cap it off with Misty, who I have literally idolized since I was 13 years old, got her autograph when I was 14, dream come true to play with her for over 10 years. We grew up together, as young women together, and I love her so much. So it was just meaningful on every single level.
Was it known going into that it was going to be the last year for Misty, and so that partnership was going to end at that Olympics?
Yeah, she actually retired in 2011, and then she unretired. So I just had my second son in 2010, Sundance, and then I'm like, well, I'm coming back. And I called Misty. I was like, Miss, hey, are you sure you're retired? Because let's do this, And she's like, no, I'm done. Have fun, good luck. And so I called another dear friend, Nicole Branna, to see if she'd want to be a partner. And she was so excited, and we were all in training. And then I got a call from Misty like 5 months later. And she's like, Kerri, I need to talk. And then she's like, I don't want to retire. I want to finish out and do this with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the best news ever. And it's also such a bummer because I have to go and break someone's heart. Yeah. I don't have to, but my choice was okay. And I waited like long and hard because I gave my word to someone, and I was fully sincere. And I made that decision based on the information I had, and then the information changed, which might sound callous. To me, it was a very thoughtful, hard decision, but also a no-brainer at the same time because it was Misty, and it was Misty and I, and we wanted to go and make history.
Yeah, and you certainly did. Again, 3 golds, 3 straight Olympics. I mean, you two were some of the faces of the Summer Olympics during that span as well. What was that like, getting all that media attention? I know that's not why you play the sport, but no. The success you had, it came with that. What was it like to deal with all that?
It's pretty cool because obviously, like in the lead up to the Olympic Games, there's a lot going on. You're doing commercial shoots, your brand partners, kind of want you everywhere. And so you really have to make sure that you're still focusing on the priority, which is becoming excellent and staying focused. But you want those opportunities. You want to get your brand out there. And for us as beach volleyball, we don't make a lot of money as prize money. So your sponsorships really subsidize your life, and so such a great problem to have. So in the lead up, it gets a little bit dicey, but if you're good with time management and if you just are on the same page with your partners, I'm focusing on this, you want me to win, right? Right. So let's just collaborating, timing and all these things. So it's all fun, and then at the games, which maybe people don't realize, like, for Misty and I, we always did such a good job. We were in such a sacred, protected bubble that we created for ourselves. We don't watch TV. We were always in a different country, so we weren't watching, U.S. media. And so we're really ignorant to what's going on, to how obnoxious it is that our faces on TV all the time, And so really, actually, what kind of made me realize how much they were putting us on TV was after every games, especially after Athens. I think this is the first time I noticed it. And I was like, oh gosh, things are going to be different. Misty and I landed and we went to get our bags in the international check-in, before you go through customs. And every single, baggage member who was pulling bags out, they freaked out and they were so they cheered and they were jumping up and down. They were emotional and we're like, what is happening? And it was so special, So at that moment, I realized that, okay, we've been everywhere and yay. But now things are going to be a little different, and after every Olympics, it was kind of more of that. And then now, been around so long, it's just, I call Misty hey, Misty, how are you doing? I'm like, no, Kerri, but I don't care. You're close. So now we're kind of household names and it's such a privileged position. And, like you said, it's not the priority, it's kind of like the cherry on top. It's a cherry on top that helps you pay your bills. It's a cherry on top that gives you a platform to speak to what you love and believe in. And so you can advocate for wonderful things. But it doesn't change your life. It enhances your life. And it could be a big detractor if you kind of didn't have your head on straight,
And you said, the competition got better as the years went by. Did you see the influence that you two had in more people playing the sport? I mean, now obviously you're seeing it on the college level. It's becoming a bigger sport and for women on the college level these days.
It's so awesome. Yeah, we certainly, it's kind of like lightning in a bottle with timing and the way NBC and Dick Ebersol really put Misty and I up front. And Misty and I worked with Kathy DeBoer, who worked with ABCA to actually get beach volleyball put into NCAA. And so, so to be part of, that indirectly and directly has been very, very special. And absolutely, I can very humbly and very honestly say Misty and I have been a huge part in the rise of beach volleyball, and we're very proud to do so. And it's just getting better and better, more and more. I think the college level is probably where you see the strongest growth. On the professional ranks, before I die, hopefully well before that, I really just want to leave an amazing tour, an amazing perhaps league for beach volleyball, because, we have a tour at home that's, eking by. The international world is pretty fractured and it's only Olympic centric. And so that makes us relevant once every 4 years for 2 weeks, when our sport deserves to be perennial, and so my mission really is to have our sport celebrated every day, every year, akin to an NBA season or NFL season. That's what we deserve, and I'm working toward that. But it's very meaningful to see not only the amazing athletes that are coming out of college, so well coached, so well trained, so hungry and ready to go, but then you see them going on to international play and doing very, very well. So that's why it was hard for me to kind of realize that Paris is off the table, because I feel like the world is so good and yet they're so beatable and I just want to go try, and that's not going to happen now. So for me now, it's just to I'm going to finish where I started, being inspired by the best and kind of just letting that fuel my life in different ways.
Yeah, you're doing different things, but P1440, a company that you and your husband have, I think, is that kind of helping that as well on the youth level with beach volleyball and other sports as well?
100%. Yeah. P1440, we launched in 2019, and initially we're like, let's go top down. We want to service the pros and then we'll go down from there. But it became very political very fast. And we kind of realized that we didn't want to be in that game. So we focused on the juniors, and then COVID hit, and we're like, oh gosh. And then we really focused on our digital programming and really kind of helping serve these athletes body, mind, and spirit. Because if you're anywhere in youth sports, you kind of realize the stress and the pressure and the anxiety that these young athletes have when they're 10, when they're 13. They're expected to be specialized in their position that they're supposed to be in for the rest of their lives. They're supposed to be getting recruited by the time they're 13 and signed by 14, 15. Like, it's just absurd. And so with P1440, what we've always wanted to do is just remind the athletes that they have everything within them to overcome and to thrive in any situation. You just have to remember that, and then develop your character, develop your mindset, kind of go to your toolbox when things get hard. You can have outside support, but no, ultimately you got it. You are the hero of your story, and so the holistic programming within 1440 really is just as important as the competitive nature of what we do in putting on tournaments, and then training them so that they can have sustained excellence, not just to win this tournament. We want them to never be peaking, but to always be peaking, type of thing. So our company is really beautiful. We actually just launched our P1440 Foundation because we're serving over 700 students in the LAUSD, Los Angeles Unified School System this summer, with not only outdoor volleyball programming, but also the holistic training. I just told you, breath work, journaling, and then some playful movement, because if you can get these kids young, if they love it and can fall in love with themselves or being curious about what their bodies and minds can do, they'll keep it their whole lives, and so P1440 Foundation is pretty powerful.
Yeah, it seems like obviously mental health is on a lot of people's minds more so now, and people are speaking about it more so now. Do you see that? And is it something that you wish, was more prevalent out there when you were playing earlier on? Just the mental side of trying to be as good as you can be?
I feel like I've been very fortunate with my support system and my family. When you feel unconditionally loved, you feel safe. And you realize if you fail, if you have a bad day, it doesn't define who you are. It doesn't make people love you less. It means you got to work harder. So I think I was raised in an environment where I understood that you're not always going to have a perfect game. Your attitude, though, needs to be perfect always. And I think that kind of the old school kind of approach to mental toughness really served me really well until things got really hard. And by hard, meaning I let the pressure and kind of the expectations get to me, and then I really needed to go and resource some more support. And in 2000, and right after the Beijing games, my life was falling apart. I was talking to my girlfriend, Rachel, and she's like, Kerri, I think you should go talk to this guy. He's a performance psychologist. She said, I went to him for volleyball, but he changed my life. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, hell, I need him. And so I called Michael Gervais, and that in 2009, that was the start of a very long relationship with him. And I just actually talked to him this morning. He has helped save my life, save my marriage, just helped me unleash so much baggage. And so, as you get older, it's so interesting. You know what the yips are? Mm-hmm. When a pitcher, in golf, your swing all of a sudden has this hiccup, or like you're a pitcher
and go to first base.
First, exactly. And so for me, it's like kind of the older I got, sometimes a yip would show up, and it wasn't a physical yip, it was a mental yip. And I would just start building cases against myself and for everyone else, and which is just, it's a slippery slope. And you can make something that's this weakness, a weakness of yours that's this big, you can feel like an elephant, and you feel like you're so exposed and everyone can see it when it's really in your head. And so Gervais not only helped save my marriage, which I'm so grateful for, he really did. He, helped Misty and I win gold in London. He helped me, on the way to Tokyo, which we fell short, but he made that journey very, just wonderful, because it was a really hard journey from start to finish. We had COVID. Brooke and I love her so much. She loved me. We were a hard fit. And he just really helped me kind of just try to figure things out. And it's really nice when you have someone who doesn't judge you, who encourages you to keep cracking the egg, and to gives you tools and reminds you that you're capable. So Gervais is wonderful. And certainly it would have been great to, start the ground running with him when I was a younger athlete, but I didn't really need it. And I think the beauty of growing up in the 80s and 90s when I did, middle school and high school is that sports were all about playing.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, it wasn't about the end result. It was not about college scholarship until later. So I had the beauty and the blessing of that. Had I not, I probably would have needed Gervais when I was out of the womb. But the way my life, turned out, I didn't need them until I was 30.
Again, a mom of three kids, does it help you in dealing with your kids and their athletic, what they want to try to do and follow and try to be the athlete that they want to be?
Mike, it's so fun. Like I have my three children, Joey, Sundance, and Scout. They're all so special. They're all so competitive, and their expressions of their competitiveness, their expressions of how much they want it, they're all so unique and different. And their capabilities are different, and the way they learn is so different. And so I watch each of them compete, and I have tears in my eyes constantly because I'm like, oh my God, I can relate, and the way I look at them now, it's almost like I'm reparenting myself because it's like, every time they fail or strike out or like airball or anything, don't get picked for a team, I'm like, you guys, this is going to make you so good. Like, it's okay. It's just part of it, So, and I say that with all my heart because that's the truth. Obviously, for me, when you're in it, I'm like, oh, you suck, you're a failure, And so that's really, really helped me to kind of own my internal dialogue, which is very important, and to really have bad, ugly, horrific. Everything is there to serve me. So I don't want to get caught up in the challenge or the heartache. I want to get caught up in how is this going to serve me, and to me, it's a really powerful way to see life and to learn from everything and just to know that I'm meant to be made better. And so I try to really give that to my kids too. And they're sponges and they come out, they're such geniuses. And my husband's one of my favorite athletes of all time. And he's a very good father and he's a very good communicator with this stuff. So I think between both of us, and we're very different, so I think between both of us, we're covering all the bases, soft, hard, like all these things.
So what kind of baseball mom is Kerri Walsh Jennings? Are you a yeller? Are you a screamer? Do you get on the umps and let them know that wasn't
only
a
if they
strike?
deserve it, Mike? I am like the hardest thing for me to keep my mouth shut is a bad ref, bad umpire, because we're all human and I know mistakes happen, but if I pick up on a bias, I cannot handle it because I'm like, it's like psychological warfare. My kid's 10 or 13 or 14 and you're like nitpicking him. Like, what is this? And so I am not quiet. I generally sit by myself. My husband and I kind of sit to the side, probably just to be kind to everyone else. It's not because I don't want to be by people, but I'm a yeller and like how fast I talk. Like I'm up here and I'm emotional and I'm excited and I love it so much. And if I didn't talk, my head would blow off. So I generally keep it very positive, but if a ref needs to hear it, I will let him hear it a little bit.
There you go. There you go. Well, kept it positive for you in 2022. International Volleyball Hall of Fame member.
Yeah.
Again, 3 gold medals, a bronze medal as well. What did that honor mean to you?
It's so interesting when you get those things, you're like, oh, that's nice. And then you go to the event and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is so meaningful and it's so special and holy cow, like I am now one of these people who are honored and revered, for doing something special in the game. And like the coolest part was, I guess, recognizing the people I was joining because they were all my heroes. Everyone that I learned from, everyone that had done anything meaningful in the game at a high level consistently was on that wall, and I'm with them now. Misty's there, and so many of my former teammates, and competitors as well. And so it was deeply, deeply meaningful. My kids couldn't go, which made me sad, but my husband was there, and my husband actually introduced me. And to me, he was the highlight of the night. Like I could listen to him talk all night long. He's such a good storyteller. And my parents were there too. So, it was very special. Part of me is like, wait, this is too early. I'm not retired yet. But I think they knew something I didn't know at the time. And so I loved it. It was an honor. It is an honor. The home of the International Beach Volleyball or Volleyball Hall of Fame is in Holyoke, Massachusetts, which is the home of volleyball. It's where volleyball was invented. Okay. So it's just really cool to kind of go down history lane. To be celebrated is always very humbling. And then to be able to have the gift of reflecting on your career and then thanking everybody. I've said this a million times, but the hardest part and the worst part about being a gold medalist is that when you're on the podium, you're up there alone. It's just you and your partner, when in reality, you have this tribe that's many layers deep that really helped you get there. And so moments like that with the Hall of Fame really allow you to speak to them and to share your heart, because nothing happens in a vacuum. And my team, my tribe of people since day one now, for the rest of my life is so special. So I'm grateful.
So the playing might be over somewhat, but is coaching at all in your future? Have you gone down that avenue at all?
Mike, I am an excellent clinic runner. I am a terrible coach. My husband's an amazing coach, and
you would have your expectations, I'm sure, right?
No, I don't think so. I'm just not very good at articulating. I'm good at doing, and I learn by doing. And I learn by watching. And so I don't know. I'm not a very strong articulator of this is how you do it. And also, I'm also a big believer in make it your own, so I never want to because I know I'm weird in my movements, so no, coaching is not for me, but I feel like I'm a very good cheerleader, and I really do run a great 2-hour clinic. And I'm good to pop in and kind of be a consultant, but there's so much good stuff going on. And again, like P1440 is kicking butt. We have the foundation now, which I really want to advocate for and get people to go check us out, because we're changing lives. We really are. We have so many programs that are enhancing the lives of these young women and young athletes. And it's so meaningful. And it's everything that we already talked about that's needed today, reinforcement that you can do this, and encouragement goes such a long way. And I think a lot of people are not encouraged this day and age. And I just want to be that for people, so coaching, no, but Paris is coming up and I hope to have a presence there. LA 2028 is coming up and I hope to have a big presence there. There's so much going on. I'm working with the Pro Volleyball Federation, PVF, and they're having our inaugural season launching in 2024. I'm a team owner of a franchise in San Diego. So I'm building an amazing team with amazing coaching staff led by Tayyiba Hanif Parker, who is a gold medalist, stud, 6'8", beautiful female, kicking butt. So a lot is going on. But what I learned over the past couple of years, and as I tried to come back to compete, is that my physicality and my physical health is so important to me. And I miss that so much. And so kind of my encouragement and my commitment to myself is forevermore, I'm going to be an athlete. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to eat well. I'm going to sleep well. I'm going to prioritize my health, because it's just too precious to feel good in my body. And it's too precious to be able to go and do a cartwheel when I want, or to be able to go do a pickup game when I want, or to play one-on-one with my babies, And so my physical dynamic capabilities is very important to me. And I'm going to make that a priority as I do everything else I want to do in the world.
Give us a website. Is there a website, I'm assuming, for P1440, how people can find some more information about that?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you can go to p1440.com, and I think it'll redirect you to p1440.org. And then realprovolleyball.com is for the new league that's coming up. Again, we launched in February of 2024. It's so exciting. But it's just, everyone's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, I need to breathe. And I need to slow down, and things are already happening, but I really do. I want to find that sweet spot where I'm honoring life. I'm honoring the beautiful lifestyle and relationships that I have. And I'm also honoring the drive that I have within to be impactful and to, be a positive, energy in the world. I love serving people. I love inspiring people, because it means in order for me to do that, I have to be inspired. I have to be empowered. And so it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, So, yeah.
Are you on social media? Is there a way for people to follow you on social media?
I am, but I'm in social media jail, so no one can see me. It's so sad. Kerri Walsh across the board. That's where I'm at. I'm mostly on Instagram, but again, I'm in I'm shadow banned. So it's not that fun. I'm trying to, if anyone knows anybody who can help me get out of there.
You're out of jail.
Jail.
Again, you're such a role model for people. What do your kids look at you as? Do they know kind of the athlete that your story, or are you just mom to them?
Well, I mean, more than anything, I'm just mom who drives them crazy, and loves them so much. But they know. And when I told my kids that I was thinking about, not going to Paris, they all got very quiet. And I it brings tears to my eyes. And I was like, oh gosh, I wonder what this quiet means, And so, and they each we each had conversations, and they're just like, Mom, what's in your heart? That's what you got to do, And so they're so supportive. This morning, this is a side note, but this morning, my son was trying to get this exclusive baseball mitt, and it sells out apparently in 5 minutes. And I'm like, well, let me reach out to the guy and see if I can get it. And I reach out to the guy, and he writes back. He's like, oh, I'm a fan. How can I help you? And I told my son Joey, and his mind was blown. He's like, this guy knows who you are. I'm like, it's kind of a perk of the job. So little things like that come up. That's pretty fun. But no, I am just mom, and I am just me, and I think they take me for all of it, and they love me. And when it's special and kind of feels like we're local celebrities, it's kind of fun. But more often than not, we're just normal and trying to, live a good life.
Well, you're anything but normal, though. Like I said, a great role model for so many people. Again, the face of Summer Olympics, and hopefully you continue to be that face in some form or fashion, like I said, in Paris and in LA and in 28 as well. And I can't thank you enough for spending a little time with us and really being so honest and open with again, your life and some of your struggles that you had. It's, people see the 3 gold medals, but there's a lot behind those 3 gold medals, right?
And the bronze. And yes, absolutely. No, life is so beautiful. And I believe in God. I talk to God every day. My faith is a big part of my life. And I just know that none of this is to suffer. Even if you're suffering in life, like, you can choose to see it a different way, or you can choose to get the juice out of it. And if my volleyball career has been kind of an emblem of my life has been full of all of the best things in life: challenges, hardships, heartache, broken bones, muscles, tendons, broken relationships. But I've learned through all of it, and it's all worth it, is what I've come to learn. So I'm grateful. And thank you for your time, Mike. I appreciate it. And great questions.
And again, the 4 medals, most decorated beach athlete ever. So amazing.
I wanted to make it 5, Mike. Damn it.
You never know.
Next time.
You never know. You're not saying the R word, so you just never know.
No, it's very true. I'll only be 50 in LA. We'll see.
There you go. Kerri, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you. God bless. Have a good weekend.
Well, great conversation there. Great guest. And we appreciate Kerri Walsh Jennings for taking some time out of her schedule to join us here today and share her story. We also thank you for watching and listening, and invite you to subscribe to our channels. Be sure to not miss another episode coming up. More great guests coming your way soon. For JR Quitman, Chuck Denson, our entire crew, I'm Mike Vaccaro. Thanks for watching another episode of In the Front Row with Mike Vaccaro. Have a great day, everybody.